little Florida Gator recruiting because I want to know if UF flips a 5-star this cycle, who will it be? Currently no 5-stars on that commit list, but I have a feeling by the end of this season there could be. We're going to talk more with Gators Online, Corey Bender. But first, Gator fans, season's here. Exciting times. Jump on board. Hit subscribe. We're going to be talking Gator recruiting all season long. All right, let's bring in the great Corey Bender from Gators Online. So, Corey, the question is there. If the Gators are to land a 5-star, it's probably going to be a flip because right now, as it stands, Darius Gray was the last 5-star. He was an interior offensive lineman. He committed to South Carolina on Friday. So there's no uncommitted 5-stars. Corey, who could it be if they're going to flip one?
Yeah, Josh, I think right now, I think the name to focus on is Braylon Womack, who just committed to Auburn. He's this 5-star safety. And obviously, I think people will probably be like, why so early? Why mention him? He just committed to Auburn. Well, I think depending on how Auburn's season goes and if Florida, has a really good season, I think it's a guy that can maybe pry loose from the Tigers, just depending on how, with Hugh Freeze's job security, if that ends up becoming an issue depending on their season. But also Florida, last cycle they signed Lagonza Hayward, Hilton Stubbs. So I don't think safety is a major need. But, do you have Devin Jackson? Yeah, that's another one, former committee's committed to Oregon. But I think right now with him being locked in, I can see Florida kind of upping its pursuit even more. When it comes to kind of for Braylon Womack, I think, he loved Vinny Sunseri is probably one of his best relationships, maybe his best. And I think that obviously could play a big role. Even before he visited Florida early this year, Washington was in line to make his top 5, and that was all because of Vinny Sunseri. And although Florida came up short, they could have finished second in this race. They actually were buzzing a little bit down the stretch. And it kind of reminds me of maybe of a situation like it was with Lagonza Hayward last cycle. He was committed to Tennessee, took an OV to Florida over the summer. And although Florida didn't win out, they kept chipping away. And then eventually they were able to get him, in the fold late in the cycle. So I think overall, when you look at Braylon Womack, Florida's going to continue recruiting him. The relationship is very strong. And I know when it comes to revenue share and NIL, Florida can make a big push. So we're going to keep tabs on him throughout the season, depending on how Florida and Auburn both play.
Yeah, and, the Gators did a good job throughout the offseason of getting guys like Felix Ojo, Sadarian Morgan, Braylon Womack. There's a couple 5-stars that they have relationships with that are probably worth, just keeping an eye on if things can go right for the Gators this season. We'll see what happens. Reading Gators Online, you wrote a great article about kind of the season objectives for recruiting. I know recruiting, a lot of it gets done in the summer, but those important tweaks that happen during the season. So for you, what will kind of be the biggest recruiting questions for the Gators as we head into this season?
Yeah, Josh, I think interior defensive line, that's a big need for Florida. Kendall Gervil, he's committed. That's been their top target for almost over a year now. So they kind of have the crown jewel in the class, but Caleb Banks, who's supposed to be one of the best NFL prospects this year, he'll be gone after the upcoming season. Jamari Lyons has come off an injury. Makai Barrow, that's another interior defensive lineman. So after this year, it's going to be up in the air, a lot of proving to do along there. So they have Gervil in the class, but they want to land one more. They need another big-time defensive lineman to pair with him. James Johnson, the Texas commit, number 1 defensive lineman in the country. That's a guy they really like a lot. They're hoping to get him on campus this fall. I'd be surprised if that doesn't happen. The interesting part of that recruitment is that's a big revenue share NIL recruitment, as we all know. Florida, from what we've been told, kind of paid up pretty well for Kendall Gervil to get him in the fold. So is Florida willing to kind of go the extra mile for another D lineman? I think they might. So I think that's another big thing. I think interior defensive line is the biggest one. And also, I think safety, we just kind of talked about with Braylon Womack. Are they going to sign a safety this cycle? Right. I think it's not the biggest need. How I've said that all along on Gators Online. I don't think it's the biggest need after them signing a great safety class last cycle. But, if they can't flip Braylon Womack or Devin Jackson, do they kind of expand the big board, or maybe do they go to the portal? They have a, it's funny because Jordan Castell, he's a junior. You have Bryce Thorne, who's a junior. Those are projected starters. They can technically come back. And then, like we just mentioned, the 2025 class had a great class. So will Florida maybe just pocket that scholarship and go elsewhere? So I think that's the other one. I think another one, too, is linebacker. Malik Morris is committed out of Lakeland. He's a big-time prospect. But Florida wants to sign 2 linebackers. Isaiah Williams, he just flipped to Florida State. Does he have another flip in him? Well, we'll see if that.
Don't discount
I know. Yeah, so I know with that, I mean, he says his recruitment shut down, but I know Florida really likes him. I mean, he's a kid that ran a 4.42 at a camp I saw him at. He was at 10 in the morning in windbreaker pants, barely stretched, ran a 4.42. And I know even though after 6 commitments, most schools are kind of back away, but Florida really likes him. So will they sign a second linebacker? They want to sign 2 DQ Forkpa. That's another linebacker that they've been in pursuit
He had
of.
a
Now
great
he's
night
obviously
on
going.
Friday too. Big,
Yeah,
some
he's
big
up in
hits.
Maryland now. Yeah, no, he's up in Maryland now, so I think maybe proximity it's going to be hard getting to Gainesville again because he's not at IMG Academy. So Florida right now, I mean, they've hit on a lot of their positions. They've got commitment. You have to keep them in the fold, obviously. But as far as offense, they're pretty much good to go. As far as offensive targets, they're pretty much done. So I think when you look at interior defensive line, safety, and linebacker, Florida wants to get one at each of those positions, and we'll see if Florida can do that. If not, obviously we have the portal in today's day and age of recruiting, so we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah. All right. So on this show, we've been talking a lot about the Canes' big visit weekend, Florida State's big visit weekend. So what will be the first big visit weekend in Gainesville?
Yeah, so it'll have to be the Texas game, October 4th, because, week 1 they play Long Island, so you're going to have some guys get on campus for that. You have USF after that, and then you have LSU and Miami back-to-back weeks, and then Texas weeks 5. So I think Texas, you look at the October 4th weekend, we already have a lot of guys confirmed for that. Jake Cruel, he's committed to Oklahoma. He has since said that he's locked in with the Sooners and not taking visits, but he previously mentioned visiting for that weekend potentially. I know you have the James Johnsons of the world and guys like that. It's going to be a huge weekend. I mean, if Florida obviously comes out of the Miami LSU games, back-to-back road games, and they're possibly sitting undefeated against many project Texas to be in the same boat, that will be one of the biggest college football recruiting weekends of the year. So all eyes are on October 4th. I think USF and Long Island, nothing against those programs. I'm sure Florida will have some guys on campus for those games. But, all eyes are set on the Longhorns and Gators October 4th, and it'll be a night game inside the Swamp.
All right. Well, that being said, it's kind of been a roller coaster of a ride for Florida Gator recruiting this summer, but they're ending on a high note. So in your opinion, how many wins do the Gators need for us to see recruiting really get red hot in November and December?
Yeah, Josh, I think probably 9 games. I'm going to go with that. I mean, even this year, people are saying it's, again, the toughest schedule in college football. They said the same thing last year.
Yeah.
It's good. If they win 9 games, it's pretty impressive because, like I mentioned, they have LSU and Miami back-to-back road games early in the year. Mm-hmm. That, to me, is going to determine the season. What kind of Florida Gators team are they going to have? If they go to LSU for the first road game and, they don't play well, I think that could kill the momentum of the program, as far as with Napier and stuff like that. But I think if you can come out of this year, especially playing Texas at home, you have so many big games. I think 9 games is definitely realistic to really have recruiting reach another level because even if you look last cycle, I mean, Josh, you and I have been doing this for a long time, and the way Florida finished last cycle was very impressive. I haven't seen that, in a long time, how red hot they were in November, and that wasn't even 9 wins. Yeah, I mean, they finished well, but it wasn't at 9. So I think overall, Florida can finish with 9 wins. DJ Lagway plays well and lives up to the hype, which I think that's the biggest question too. There's so many expectations for him. It's almost unrealistic, in my opinion. Is he going to reach those? Maybe he does. But if you get 9 wins and obviously DJ Lagway performs, I think obviously the sky's the limit for Florida.
Yeah, I mean 9 wins. That means DJ Lagway is performing because with that schedule, the only way to come out with 9 wins is for a monster season by DJ Lagway. And if all that happens, I agree with you. I think the Gators are going to be one of the teams that is just out there flipping big-time names down the stretch. Gator fans, talk to Corey Bender and I. Put a number in the chat. How many wins do you think this Gator team has in them between 1 in how many games have they played these days? 12, 13? I don't know. Drop the number in the chat below. Let us know, Gator fans. How are the Gators going to do this season?